Morning, everyone. I'll welcome everyone to our special meeting of February 7th. I'll now officially call the meeting to order at 10 p.m. and we'll start with our land acknowledgement and a moment of silent reflection. I would now ask members to declare any pecuniary interest before council if they have any. Seeing no hands, we'll move on. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda as circulated or amended? As circulated, Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Clerk, all in favor? Motion is carried. Staff and committee reports. Now, before we move into staff reports, we'll hear an opening statement from our CAO on this year's budget process.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Our budget process today will differ from previous years. This year, the organizational leads for each department will present their respective budget to council, and you will be able to ask any questions you have. Following our second special budget meeting on February 21st, the treasurer will provide an overview and explain the overall impact of the tax rate. One key factor incorporated into this year's budget is a 3% cost of living increase for staff, aligning with similar adjustments made to municipalities across the county of Ontario. As you know, budget process can be complex and challenging. This year, several factors make it particularly difficult. The community has not experienced the growth anticipated in the previous budgets, which has impacted revenues in the building department and affected our reserves. Additionally, while the medical center has had a very positive impact on the community, its costs have exceeded initial projections. Uncontrollable costs such as insurance, conservation authority fees, and policing continue to rise, further straining the budget. Budgets presented today are not wish lists. They reflect what staff believe is necessary to meet the community's need. In an ideal world, you could approve these budgets with confidence knowing the community is fully supported. However, recognize the reality of financial constraints and we anticipate difficult discussions throughout this process. I understand the desire for immediate clarity on financial budget outcomes, but I strongly encourage a step-by-step approach. Thoughtful, collaborative discussions will help us navigate these challenges effectively. By working together, we can achieve the best possible result for the community. This will require time, effort, and commitment, and I sincerely appreciate your dedication to this process.
Thank you, Alan. Moving ahead, we'll move ahead to R1. And that is the draft library budget. Trish, the floor is yours.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, and grateful for the opportunity to present on the library's 2025 draft budget. As stated in our 2025-2028 strategic plan, our library is a place for all people with infinite opportunities to connect with community, resources, programs, and services. A true community hub extending beyond our physical spaces. In 2024, our patrons borrowed over 13,000 physical items and over 9,000 electronic titles. Our library provided 334 passive and active program opportunities for all ages and stages, which saw 3,616 participants. These programs provide local learning opportunities and help to keep our community connected. 179 people registered for a new library card, bringing our active card holder up to 1,024. In a typical week, our public access computers were utilized 38 times. The 2025 draft budget will allow the library to maintain our level of service and continue to achieve our goals as outlined in our strategic plan. After multiple iterations and significant consideration to balance fiscal responsibility with the requirements to provide the standard of service our community has come to expect from the library board approved the 2025 draft budget at their regular meeting held on January the 13th. This budget outlines our projected expenses at $251,000, our projected revenues at $39,000, and the 2025 municipal contribution would be $211,387, an increase of $17,923, which is a 9% increase from 2024. Some of the items which are contributing to the expense increases include additional programming and outreach support through the redistribution of internal duties, patron computer replacements and required software, a website refresh that has been approved by the library board in 2024 to utilize reserve funds, and the repair of an exterior staircase at the Norwood branch.
Is that the Norwood branch or Asphodel?
That's the Norwood branch. The exterior staircase at the rear of the building is
All right.
deteriorating.
Questions, councilors? Thank you, Trish. Very good work. Yes. Councilor Ward.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. Trish, thanks for the report. It was very well presented and thank you for answering my questions that I reached out to prior. There was one thing, the seed grant, which is a really wonderful opportunity. And it was just important to clarify, I think, for everyone looking that also includes staff wages in that grant. So if you could explain that a little bit more thoroughly.
Yep, through you, Mayor. The seed grant does include any staff charges that occur because of the programming in that grant, as well as the staff time to facilitate the grant.
If I may, one more follow-up. Do you foresee any other potential community partnerships that may help offset in the future? You don't have to answer this now. This is a draft budget, but it's a question that maybe take back, like what other kind of partnerships that might, enhance the library exposure and outreach to other groups. That's my only comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Deputy members.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Trish. I've been part of this. I am on the library board. And I just wondered if for everyone here, and if anybody is watching, if you could explain a couple of things, why the patron computer replacements are required in the software, and then the website refresh, because those are two big pieces, but really we don't have a lot of choice in them as well. So if you just want to expand on that, that'd be great.
Absolutely, through you, Mayor. So our 5 patron computers are approaching end of life as of October 2025. They will no longer be able to receive the necessary updates that they require. So we have proposed a phased-in approach. We are purchasing 1 through reserve funds as approved by the library board, 2 replacements proposed in 2025, which will leave 2 for the 2026 draft budget year. And then as for the website, our website is in need of a refresh. We did look at 2 different options in 2024, and the board selected the most economic option. Will be refurbishing the website that we have with our current provider and utilizing reserve funds in order to do so.
Any further questions? Council Walsh?
Just through you, Mayor, just for your comment, I know it's a 9% increase, and we're always looking to try and cut where we can, but I think the reality is all your programming continues to grow. You're getting lots of response from the community to come to all your events. So I don't have an issue with investing more when programming is working and people are engaged. So when I come to it, everything I hear about what was on the library is positive. So from my perspective, asking for an increase is not out of the way, and I think you're being smart with, I look at those computers, you're not doing them all in one fell swoop, you're doing over a couple of years, which is great. And I think the only other comment would be just to build on what Councilor Moore said is, are there any partnership opportunities with other libraries from a cost savings? If you're buying similar things, we've talked about this as a whole council is, I think we need to look wherever possible. If you're buying similar things that Drill Gum or Have Luck Gum or other, is there a way that we kind of pool together and try and save, if there's a way to save money that would just be looking for it.
Thank you.
Councilor Hodge-Green.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question around rental income. And the budget item, the budget is $1,500, but in 2024, the actual was over $4,000. Are you being conservative? Is that an unusual trend at $4,000 for the rental income?
Through you, Mayor, it was high in 2024, and we have received notification from two of our regular renters that they won't be continuing business as usual. So we allocated for that in this budget.
Councilor,
Yes, through you, Mayor. I have just one more question because of the back steps at the Norwood Library. It reminded me of the Westwood update. Was that budgeted in the 24 budget for that repair for the ramp, or what is happening with the Westwood ramp?
Through you, Mayor, that isn't part of the library's budget and it wasn't previously either, so I don't want to speak to exactly what's
That's fine.
happening with those funds.
Yeah, I just wanted a reminder. Thank you.
Jordan has his hand.
Jordan?
Through you, Mayor, so that will be paid through development charges through the facilities budget. It's approved as part of the pre-approval process.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Any further questions of Trish? I like the numbers are going up, and as Councilor Walsh just said, sometimes you have to spend a little bit to get updates. Council, may I get a motion to accept this report for information? Councilor Walsh, Councilor Hodge-Green, all in favor? Motion is carried. Okay. Next is R2, the draft planning budget. The floor is yours, Ed.
Through you, Mayor. As we can see, the budget for this planning is not too much different than 2024. It decreases the tax allocation by almost $700. The wages, benefits, that type of thing, it's split between building, bylaw, and planning. So a certain percentage of all of our wages, except for our building inspector, he doesn't do any planning, so between me and Shannon, we take care of the majority of all wages and benefits. The development fees that you see for the revenue part of the budget, that is like 198,000. 190,000 of that is our projected development fees for DPH phase 4. So they've told me that they're going to build that many units in 2025, so hopefully they actually do that and take out their permits. So there's really not a lot in planning. So as far as like revenue, $8,000 worth possibly. Couple zoning applications. Possible one minor variance we might do. You know, we do one every couple of years or so, so we're guessing. So these are our best guess of what the year is gonna look like for the planning. And again, it's not, it's a small budget, really. It's a little money in and a little money out type of thing overall. So I don't know what questions that you may have. I'd be happy to answer any.
Just one, when I was reading that, Ed, your 212,000, I think it was from reserves. That's correct. Pardon me? That could be in building too. Sorry, Ed, I jumped ahead.
Yeah,
one
that was
page.
for building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Don't mind that question
Yeah.
right now.
I don't mind that.
It's
extra.
coming though.
It's zero.
Counselor
reserves.
Wolf.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Not too many questions on this, except for, you know, if phase 4 does go ahead, I think that's still questionable because they haven't taken, like, that's a guesstimate, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so, you look at 109,000, that'd be wonderful, but we don't know if it's gonna happen.
that's right. We don't, it's not a guarantee. We're just, those are the numbers from the actual developer.
Yeah.
That, said we won't do less than that. So. Anything we can do, the building department planning to help, we definitely will to get us up and running.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Walsh.
Yeah, through your Mayor. Ed, on that, and I know it's your best guess in conversation with them. If they were to, but what is the ultimate if they build up there? I can't imagine they're gonna build a lot more than that in 2025. What is the full potential?
148 units is the full. But I think for water and sandy and that type of stuff, 94 units.
Any further questions? All right, council, may I get a motion to accept this report for information. Councilor Hart, please, Deputy Mayor First, all in favor? Motion's carried. Ed, you can continue with your draft building budget.
Okay, so the draft building budget, it's a little more complicated. Again, we're counting on those development fees coming in for building permit fees as well. We split staff with building bylaw and planning, so this portion of it, when things were booming really well, we put away about $750,000 into reserves. And so now, the last probably 3 years or so, we've been drawing down on that, on the reserves. And so we're proposing a 212 drawdown on it. And right now we have about 402,000 in the reserves. So it'll drop the reserves to under $200,000. And so we've had tough conversations regarding this, and we'll continue to have these conversations with the CAO and the treasurer. I don't like the numbers being reduced down to a bare cover type of thing, if we don't have to. And anyways, we're really counting on the phase 4 again. And hopefully that happens. 10 singles and 12 townhouses. And there's really not any negatives with regards to the tax requirement, because it's totally self-funded due to our reserves that we built. When I first came here, the building department operated in the red all the time. And it wasn't self-funded. And so we didn't have it was taxpayers paying for the building department, and so we crept it up and we got into to the building, got into the bit of lagoon there. Socked away the money for when you have bad years, or you have not bad years, but, you know, not as good a years as some of the years that we've had. Like, I think our best year, we had like 102 dwelling permits taken out in 1 year. Like, that's for a small community like Asphodel-Norwood, that's crazy.
Big time.
You know, I think we were like maybe third or fourth, we were in the top 5 of growing municipalities in Ontario during the last few years. So thankfully for that, we've been able to go through times when the permits are getting less and less. And so hopefully the permits start on in the right direction and start building again. But time will tell.
Just on that, Ed, you were mentioning borrowing from the reserves.
Yep.
If we have another year like this year, you're not gonna have no reserves after next year.
It'll be cleaned out.
Yes, and I don't wanna see that. It is self-funding, I agree with that. But, I just hate taking that kind of money out of reserves. Councilor Bird, or Deputy Mayor Bird.
Thank you for your, yeah, I think probably all of us sitting around the table and probably everybody in this room agrees with that. It's been a little, I think this year it hits home because when we see those numbers, there's a year left in reserves. If those, you know, phase 4 doesn't start to come in. So, yeah, I'm getting a little nervous around this, so I'm glad you and Jordan and Alan and the mayor are, you know, looking at options, and I think we'll see some of those options coming forward. So, do you remember when you got here and you said it was not self-funded at the time? Do you know approximately what the levy was that was put in to looking after the planning? I don't think I was here around the table then, so I don't.
I don't remember,
Don't
but
remember?
we
Okay.
could look that up.
Yeah, no, I'm
see
just
what it
curious,
was, but-
because you had mentioned that, right? I'm just curious as to where that stood, so. I
And
don't want to go back there, though.
the majority of, through you, Mayor, the majority of building departments, 10 or more years ago, weren't self-funded. The majority of them, it was on the taxpayers.
Okay.
And so, we need to look at everything, and not just for building or planning or bylaw or stuff, we need to look at everything to, make sure that our fees are appropriate for our township. Coming up, the county is doing, a planning, study right now on everybody's fees for planning. So when I get that information, I'll bring it back to say, we should increase our fees on this one application and that application and maybe this one too. So that we're in the middle of the pile or slightly above the middle of the pile. Building permits, same thing. I was just told on Wednesday, the development fees for Peterborough is 70,900
Yeah,
per unit.
I know.
So our development fees are pretty small compared to that.
Yeah.
So,
Did you have a follow-up?
If I could have a follow-up, yeah, just the townships have taken over the septic inspections, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to, I know the permit fees are $1,000. Are you finding that is covering the work that is required? Do those permit fees look in line with the work that needs to be done on them?
through you, Mayor, I think the fees for septics is appropriate. I think that the health unit possibly had higher costs than what the township does because we're local.
Right.
Where they would have to send somebody up to North Porta and down to Cavan and all over the place. So their mileage and I think their wages as well was substantially higher in the Peterborough Health Unit. So I think at this time, the wages for the fees for septic permits are appropriate.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Hodgegreaves.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The building For the Ontario Building Code. So when I first read that, I understood it that they had to be self-funded, but that's not the case. It's better to be self-funded, but they're not legally obligated to be self-funded. Alan's just, no, but thanks. Okay.
Counselor Ward?
Yes, thank you through you, and thank you again for answering some of the questions that I sent off to you, but one thing, the OBC training,
Yes.
because that did impact the line of about 8,000 for training. And can you explain, like why that training? And I have a second follow-up if I may.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. So, even if we didn't have a brand new building code, I think, they said that, there was like 7,800 changes in the building code, which is not a lot because, you know, it's grammar and different things. They shuffle the deck and they just make it a little bit better. They try to make it look like it's more than what it is, but there is changes that you need to know about and stay on top of. Our staff, we're trying to have it so that they're certified in the various categories of qualification and not just bare bones house or something. So in order to issue a permit for a new fire hall or for a new building, you have to be qualified for that. If we don't have staff qualified, you're doing it at a risk. So we don't want the township to be at risk or anything. So right now, we currently can issue a permit for anything and everything. There's nothing that we're not certified for. I'm not gonna be here forever. So we need staff to be certified in the various categories of qualifications too, eventually. And so every year we want them to take at least one course, get certified. You know, last year we had them do septics in order to prepare to do septics. So there will be ongoing training regardless of new building codes or not, always. And every free chance that we get, we go to Peterborough, sit in on these half-day sessions and the OBOA, we have chapter meetings where they hit on little changes in plumbing, little changes in on this, that, or whatever. And we take advantage of all those free ones, but $8,000 in conferences and training. We cut it, but we just don't want to. We want to try to stay on top of it.
No, I wasn't talking about cutting.
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, if it came right down to it.
Yeah.
We can cut a couple thousand here or there or whatever, just that we would prefer to keep everybody moving in the right direction, that's all.
Yeah, no, I just made that those provincial changes that come, and I was just wondering how that impacted, but I think the training is necessary for the building department to keep on top.
Yeah.
I do echo what the mayor and deputy mayors, said about, being self-funded and, making sure that we are in check for a number of years to come. And with that, I just wanted to ask a question about the electric car vehicle, and if you feel that that has been a benefit for the building, and if it's well used.
Do you want the political answer or?
No, I want.
No.
There.
We want the real one.
No, I never was in favor of buying a vehicle. It was more or less proposed that that's what you're doing, that's what we're doing, is getting this vehicle. Green power makes everybody feel better, happy. And they wanted a total electric vehicle, and I was like 100% against that, because now you have to put in a real charging station. $50,000 to $80,000 was the estimate that I got from an electrician. Added on top of that. So hybrid is the best way to go if you want me to have a vehicle. In order for us to break even, we'll never break even. We'll just say that,
Okay.
the mileage that would be paid $2,000 or $3,000 thereabouts per year to staff to drive their own vehicles to buy a $60,000 vehicle. Are we ever gonna break even on that vehicle? The cost of insurance, the cost of the gas, we still have to, the township has to pay for the gas. They have to pay for the hydro when it's plugged in. It's a cost to the ratepayers that wasn't necessary, and it could have saved taxpayers money in my own mind. So it could have, by not going green this fast, and spending that $50,000-$60,000 right away.
Out of your reserves.
I appreciate the answer.
So
Yes.
that's just me.
And Council Walsh.
Yeah, just one question for you, Mayor. When it comes to staff, in your opinion, Ed, are you staffed appropriately, understaffed, overstaffed? I know it's a tough question to answer, but put you on the spot a little bit. Do you feel where we are from a building perspective right now, inspections? Are we right sized or?
At this time, we don't have many permits coming in, so we do various different jobs and depending on the time of year, maybe May would be a really busy year. There's certain times of the year that are lots of permits coming in, and then other times you may have one permit in the entire month. Well, what are you guys doing? So there's other things that can be done during those really slow times. Other years, winter used to be the time when you did all the stuff you didn't have time to do before. But now, in busy years, you don't have that time. So every month is a building month. So they take out so many permits in a subdivision. They get the foundations all in the fall, and then they can build all winter long. And so, when the subdivisions are going, it's busy every single month. But when the subdivisions aren't going, it's not busy.
Thank you.
Councillor Hodge, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Going back to the discussion around the vehicle, is there a way to redeploy the vehicle into other parts of the township? The library has multiple, like, they do a lot of outreach. Is it something that could be used for, in between, I don't know, if because it's not a truck, can it be used in a different way so that it's being used?
Through you, Mayor, I think that the vehicle could be shared at any time, like in the older days, like I've even used one of the public works truck to go to a conference.
Right.
So to save mileage. That was quite a number of years ago that we did that, but there's no reason that we couldn't share. If we're not using it, booked for inspections. Certain months of the year, especially like January or so, there may only be 1 or 2 inspections a week. There's no reason why anybody else wouldn't be able to use that vehicle.
Right.
Like, it's not like, nope, that's mine type of thing. It's a township vehicle, and if anybody needs it, all they have to do is ask.
Very nice. Any other questions? All right, council. Now I have a motion that the 2020. Council, may I have a motion to accept this report? Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Ed, if you'd like. Oh, sorry, all in favor? Ed, you can continue on with animal control budget.
Okay. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The proposed 2025 draft budget here increases the tax allocation of $460. And again, we split all the wages between building, bylaw, and planning. And so a little bit of the reallocation of the percentages. This is what the tax allocation is, $460. We have a $7,000 agreement with Northumberland County, Northumberland Humane Society, I mean, and that's for our dog pound. We have an animal control officer that responds to the dog complaints. And she also does the animal valuation for when a farmer loses an animal. She'll go out and do the necessary paperwork so that farmer can get reimbursed for the the value of that fee. Whatever it's worth, whether it's a sheep or cows or fowl, anything. She does a really good job. This budget here, I think it includes the 3% increase, and trying to keep in, with the county mileage. Their rate increase is what the township generally sticks with. And so it's a bare bones budget for bylaw. We don't spend a lot in legal fees. It's a lot different in Asphodel-Norwood, where we work with the people and try to get results, and 95% or better. We get compliance without having to go through the courts and spend money and causing hard feelings and everything else. Other townships, they are really putting money into their bylaws and causing a lot of, to me, a lot of issues with ratepayers and contractors and anybody and everybody. If they're parking, they want to throw tickets out, they want to implement a new IT programs that will track issuing parking tickets and doing this and doing that, when in fact, if anybody, one or two people ever say, no, I'm not paying that ticket, let's go to court. You just spent every penny you've ever earned for one ticket going to court, having to pay for a court prosecutor and all that. So we've had really good success working with the people and our current bylaws that we have. It's not perfect, but we do as best as we can, and we do get the job done 99% of the time. You know, certain things drag out on those. Every township probably has those certain ones that are repeat customers, we'll call them. We deal with them one by one, and we generally do a pretty good job with bylaw. It doesn't please everybody, but the township still, when you drive through our community, it looks pretty good. There's a couple spots that are gonna have to be cleaned up in the spring of this year again. But for the most part, our township looks really good. I'm pretty proud of it.
Thank you, Ed. I was looking, I don't know if you can answer this on the animal control. Is this an exceptional year for compensation for animals? Do you know?
I don't think that it is. When I used to do this myself, some years we would have 15 to 30 to 45 animal claims. And then some years back in the day, when we had this really large sheep farmer, there was like dozens and dozens and dozens of claims. And then it went down to just a handful, like maybe not even a dozen type of claims. And right now, I don't even think we would probably have a dozen claims.
Okay.
Like the amount depends on if it's a full grown special breed and everything. Like they pay really good wages, or not really good wages, but really true current value. OMAFRA, they search out what the value of that animal is, the weight, the age, and they know all the sale barn quotes of what's going on current for that month, or that what happened last week for the sale of that type of animal. And they use that, and they reimburse the farm owner that amount.
And I do like what you said about bylaws. There's a lot of municipalities that'll bylaw you to death. And I don't like seeing that.
No.
Deputy Mayor Bird?
Thank you, through you. Just a quick question, pound fee is $7,000. I do think that's very reasonable from Northumberland. I think it was about half that when we were originally with Peterborough, and then we had that ridiculous request from them for 50,000.
50,000.
I didn't know if you've heard anything around the community, has Peterborough kind of come to their senses and reduced fees, or have you heard, or have you looked into that? I was just curious.
Through you, Mayor. No, I haven't looked into it since we entered into this
Right.
agreement. That was probably 2 years ago or
I
so.
think so, yeah.
About that.
Yeah,
And so, it's always worthwhile. I think we signed maybe a 4-year deal, probably 5 with a chance to renew it a few
right.
times.
right. No, I just didn't know if I haven't heard anything, and I didn't know if Peterborough, they dropped their fees, and I was just curious.
And
Councillor Walsh?
Actually, it's really just to build upon what Deputy Mayor wrote was around Northumberland, so we're 7K. Yeah, it was 2022. Do you know how long that is?
how long the agreement is?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a 4 or 5 year agreement. And, I think it started at 6,000 and every year it increases by $500 is what I remember.
Okay.
And, our animal control officer said that they've been absolutely great to deal with. So there's never a question if she calls and says, hi, I'm on my way, I've got this situation, 100%.
Any further questions? Okay, council, may I get a motion to accept this report for information? Councillor Ward, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving along to number 5, the 2025 draft fire budget. Chief Payne, the floor is yours.
I'd like to thank council for the opportunity to present this preliminary budget. I'd also like to thank council for the continuing and historical support of the fire department. Especially this year, with the purchase of the new pumper, the master fire plan, and continuation of our digital and radio system coming in this year. Even though it is a stress on the 2025 budget this year, in the long run, it's going to save this municipality thousands of dollars. So this year's gonna be tough. We're trying to get through it. The fire department has done 362 calls last year. We're still averaging about 1 a year. And the year before that, we got 367. This year, we're already up to 34 calls in 1 month. So things are just moving right along as we go. The fire department provides an excellent ongoing service for our municipality. And we are under undue stresses due to certification from the province. Also, I'm going to address this year, the staff remuneration is due to training is minimum wage. And so if there is any increases in minimum wage, our costs will go up again. We're going to get the 3% increase for posted staff to all 35 firefighters. So that's going to add stress to the training budget. So this year, we got for $100,000 more because of all these issues. And we're gonna try to get through it. So this year, with the in the future, we're gonna focus on rearming our reserves because we exhausted them. So we'll be doing that in the future. So this year is an aberration for the amount of costs we're asking for. The master fire plan, we started that. We've had meetings, Zoom meetings. I know I'm getting information to pass on to these people who put it through. And so these people are going to give us our council recommendations of what with the future as a third party neutral idea to help your council in the future to make these decisions. So we've had some grant money come in this year that's going to offset some of the costs. We have $16,800 coming in. It's going to pay for, we're asking for 3 or 4 bunker gear this year. It's going to pay for 3 bunker gear. That's roughly $12,500. It's going to save our budget this year. We also getting a new computer through another small grant. It's gonna go to administration for our clerk comes in and helps out. We're talking about the air bottles we bring in every year. We're gonna get 4 this year, they're $1,500 a piece. The problem with that, they're only the 15-year life expectancy of them, so we have to have ongoing replacement every year. So that's something we can't really help because of NFPA regulations. The new MTO budget on our vehicle safeties has been onerous on us. The MTO brought in a new process last year, all the garages that perform this service must buy a new program. They must buy the MTO tablet. And as they do a safety, they must take a video of what they're doing. And when it's done, this video is sent to a bureaucrat who okays the issue and submits the progress. Our local 3 people have used 3 graduates that have done our safeties. The one in Havelock has discontinued it because of this new process. He does not agree with it. And I canvassed the 2 and one in Norwood and one in Asphodel, and they're saying it's going to cost another $250 per tire just to perform at this. So this is downloading again from the province. I understand where the province is coming from because it's stopping the illegal and fraudulent companies in Toronto, trying to stop them. That fire truck that was hit by the transport driver, that truck was not insured. It's not safety. The driver did not have a license, and he didn't realize he hit a fire truck which stole the truck. That's the reason that these fraudulent places are putting it unwarranted costs to everybody else that does things correctly. They all pay the price. So, any questions?
Council Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. And again, thank you for answering my questions. I did have one answer from you that was a good news story that I didn't realize that fire truck drivers that doesn't impact the CVOR, which is a good thing because that doesn't impact our insurance, right? And so I thought that is one good thing, but there's no, is there any way that we could petition, like to get any of these costs reduced for, the inspections or anything like that? Is there
Government regulations.
just government? Okay,
You're not gonna change that.
no.
Through Mayor, if that was something the council was interested in doing, a resolution could be passed, it could be sent out to the other municipalities, something to go to the province. You see those on a regular basis, like one around the OPP 2 or 3 months ago. So the same thing, if council thought it was a high enough priority, and that's what they wanted to do, that would be the approach to take.
And it's a year-over-year thing, right? Every
Yes,
year.
annual.
So it's annually. So what would, like breaking it down with the vehicles that you have, what would the impact be right now?
All 6 large vehicles.
All six, so $6,000. And so that would
Additional. That's additional.
additional,
Nothing,
yeah.
That's with regular costs.
and
They
so,
take the tires off, they check everything under the trucks. It's a very in-depth.
yeah, and I'm
process.
not against obviously safety of the vehicles and everything. It's just the other part just seems to be over, like it would really burden a lot of rural.
It's been massive, yes.
Yeah, is it something that the fire association, it would be?
The OAFC right now is putting in a new driver initiated program where they're going to be doing driver training because some departments pay for the DZ licenses. And
Yeah.
if this new one comes through, it's going to cost us like $50 per person, which is going to help out in the long run. But it seems to be starting this year. So all we have to do is send 4 of our instructors to a course, pass the course, and they'll be able to do the exams and the testing for the DZs. So it's going to be a lot of savings in the long run.
What's the cost of sending our guys for that training?
Right now, we are training in-house and we're sending our drivers up for their own testing and they're paying for it themselves.
But I mean, in-house.
In-house,
We have our own guys.
it's paid for by incident wages, by the people testing. It's by the hour.
If I understand the council's question correctly, if we wanted them to lobby on behalf of the municipalities, we could send something, a resolution to them asking then being the association asking them to do that comes to that as well. Or make them aware that we had sent something to the province already and ask them to support it.
I just think the impact on rural, volunteer fire, departments is going to be, quite severe, like, when you look at the budget and add that much amount every year, but it's something that I think we can discuss at a later point, but thank you very much.
Further questions? Councilor Walsh.
For you, Mayor, and I just kind of build upon Councilor Morris's. Yeah, there are some lobbying efforts we can do, because these are just costs that I look at other municipalities, at some point. Some municipalities won't be able to afford it further. Great. Like says, all these continual downloads are coming and we're gonna reach a point where we can't afford it. Welcome your comment.
Through you, your mayor, these amendments are paid by province. Fires paid by municipalities. And there's something wrong.
Yeah, there's something wrong with our system.
Yes.
One of many things that's wrong with our system. The other quick question, if I can, just around, it's probably not a large number, but fire administration. So that's a new added cost for our fire department in 2025.
Not really, no. We have a system come in, fire department pays 3.5 hours per week.
Okay,
Yeah, she's been here historically.
okay.
The reason it might, the reason it might look a little bit different, council, is that in the budget last year, it got missed and didn't get included there. When we were going through it this year, that's one of the areas that we identified, that should have been charged there.
Do you have a question? Deputy Mayor Burke.
Yeah, just a follow up on the, inaffordability of fire departments, and I think that's happening in the north already. They're amalgamating fire departments, and if the safety of residents would be at risk, because all of a sudden, instead of 20 or 30 minutes away, you're hours away. And I think that's already impacting. So I like Councillor Ward's thought that maybe at the next meeting or whenever you'd like to, I think that's a good idea, is to bring that resolution forward. And maybe if there's anything else, like the one thing is the MTO, if there's anything else, I think it would be wise to do that lobbying. And once again, it feels like another download, right? It's
Now,
another
you
download.
write that resolution, write down for the resolution to be brought forward next meeting. Okay, you want to
Right.
make a resolution of that? Rachel?
Well, let
I'll
Councillor
do
Ward
it
do
for the
that.
next meeting.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Daryl. Any further questions? All right, thank you for that, Daryl. Council may I get a motion to accept the report for information. Councillor Hodge Greaves, Councillor Wall, all in favor, motion is carried. Draft Police Conservation Authority budget, Jordan or Alan?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm gonna present the Police and Conservation Authority draft budget for 2025. So 2025 is seeing a $34,638 increase in the tax requirement from 2024. Unfortunately, these costs are almost out of our hands. OPP costing has increased from 24 to 2025. So the police contract itself sees a 4.2% increase. That 4.2% actually includes a 10% discount that was provided by the ministry from the original billing statement that we received. A little bit scary, given we don't know what the future looks like. In 2026, if that discount will be available to us or not. The savings for that 10% discount was 111,000 this year. So if that discount isn't available, you can tack that on next year plus all the other increases. So the new billing statement, there was a cost per property increase as well. The number of properties in the township increased by 44 to a total of 2,226 properties that are being serviced. Also, we had a slight reduction in the police services board line, for expenses. It was $10,000 budget in 2024. I think they're anticipating the police services board to come together in 2024. It still hasn't. It will come in 2025. And the $3,000 budgeted amount is our estimate at what we're kind of hearing and what we expect to see in 2025. The Conservation Authority portion of the 34,000 works out to about $14,000 increase. So it's a 25% increase in orchid costs from 2024. The drivers for this is there's an increase in operating levy portion or apportionment that the township sees, as well as an increase in our source water protection fees. So in 2025, we entered a 5-year agreement for source water protection. The previous agreement ran from 2020 to 2024 and was based on old data and didn't include some data that maybe they would have liked to have available at that time. It's resulted in obviously what I would deem a significant increase. The amount, I think it's 27,000 a year. The contract does allow for increases for cost of living, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping there's no drastic increases over the 5 years in that contract amount. I don't think there were in the previous one. But just something to be aware of if there are big cost of living adjustments, that type of thing, that it's gives the potential of an increasing contract as well. Also contributing to the increase in source water protection agreement costing is the development that the township has seen over the last 5 years. If there's any questions on releasing the conservation, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions, councilors? Councilor Walton?
To you, Mayor. Thanks, Jordan, very much for sharing the wonderful news. The OPP contract is certainly a concern. It's nice to get a reprieve this year, but you said the unknown is they have no idea next year, so. And I think that was loud and clear at Roma when we were recently had a lot of municipalities get up and ask the minister regarding it, so that issue is certainly relevant and high. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens for 2026. It's kind of scary, but could be a significant increase.
And it isn't a balance, it's zero that come to us either, like they said, it was gonna be very still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get the full 10%.
No, through you, Mayor, I was gonna agree. I think the one thing we have in our favor is it is impacting everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, strengthen numbers and hopefully we can take advantage of that moving forward.
Deputy member,
Yeah, basically, I was gonna say, I think as a municipality of 144, we need to keep the pressure on the government. I assume that will be the same one, but who knows? I think that's important. And I just had a question for the like the roadside checks for drinking. Do they give so many per township per year? Like, how do they bill that? Or is it billed extra? I can't remember.
My understanding is we receive a proportion of it for each, like the ride checks specifically you're talking about, for each one that they do in the area. We
Okay.
receive.
And that
revenue
is
for
billed?
Like we receive the revenue.
You receive, oh, you
Yeah.
receive that, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Portion
No,
of it, so that should be-
I wasn't sure if we got billed extra for that.
we get a list of how many blocking hours is done, believe it or not. in
Oh, okay.
Municipalities and even in Westwood also.
Okay,
You get the time that they've spent in your municipality.
I think we've seen one report on that
Okay.
previous, but I think that was the first time we've seen it, so it's kind of interesting to see
I can
it.
get
So whenever you
and
get
it-
it, that'd be good.
Right now, make sure that Melanie puts it on the agenda for
Yeah.
everybody to read.
Yeah, it's interesting
It
to
gives a
see.
lot of different ones. It's not just impaired calls.
Okay.
It's almost like a paramedic.
Okay, okay, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be, and just to follow up if I may, source water, that is a big jump, but I think given our situation and the growth and everything going on, I don't think, well, we don't have a choice, we need it, I think that's something that we do need to do. I do sit on that committee that it's, again, like the police services board, it's big committee that we could probably find some efficiencies, in my opinion, and I've stated that, but, yeah. Another one of those things, so,
Yes.
thank you.
Further questions? Council, may I have a motion to accept this report for information? Councillor Ward, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? Motion is carried. R7, 2025 draft council and board committee budget. Jordan, continue, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So this is the council boards and committees 2025 draft budget. As you can see, the tax requirement, proposed tax requirement is $14,775 for 2025. There's a few key drivers, but one thing I do want to point out is, when you saw Trish's library presentation and a municipal contribution and the increase of the almost $18,000. That is part of this requirement here for the 14,775. So it's not don't look at it as an 18 over there and 14 over here. It's really ignore the 18 over there, put it in this budget, and this budget essentially. So Trish, not to ignore it, but it's accounted for in this budget as part of the municipal contribution. So the drivers to the increase for this budget is the 9% increase in the library contribution to meet their programming needs. There's also a $7,000 transfer to the election reserves for the 2026 election. We have committed $7,000 each of the last 2 years. So at the end of 2025, our reserve for the election should be $21,000. There is a 3% cost of living CPI increase to councillor salaries and payroll. This is consistent with the proposed increase for all township staff. Also to note, we have made a reduction in the proposed budget amounts for 2 of the committees, the Special Events Committee and the Business Advisory Committee, in an attempt to align the budget amounts with kind of their spending trends the last couple of years. Also to note, we did leave the Cultural and Heritage Society budget amount unchanged from the previous year. And the decision around this was largely due to the Peter Robinson celebration that is planned for 2025. The last reduction we have, again, very minimal in the grand scheme of things, but we just want to note it is a slight reduction in the council donations line for 2024, again, to align with what was donated in 2025, what was donated in 2024. Again, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Council. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you. Thank you very much for the report, Jordan. Just a couple of things, reduction of the committees. I do agree with this. And maybe looking forward, we can even, reduce that a little bit more. I understand that the Heritage Committee, they need that. That's what their grant was based on, and they've got everything in line for this year. But I believe that they're able to knock that down again in 2026. I just wondered, we had, and I think that report's coming forward, there was a substantial reserve amount in, I believe it was a Special Events Committee. Do we know where that's landing?
Sorry, through you, Mayor, we are going to bring a report back. It's kind of been held due to this.
Okay,
Okay. And the thought process being that maybe some of the opinions on the previous report may change from council, from where 2025 is going to kind of look like. So
so that's coming, yeah, because it wasn't in the budget, so I just didn't know where that was landing. So, okay, and I think, I know I reached out some questions to you and to Alan on this, when we're looking at reducing expenses. I think Jordan or Alan, you had said I was the third council member that mentioned the 3% increase to council this year. I would be in support of eliminating that for this year. And it's a tricky decision because the three of us, I think, sat around the table when we looked at council remuneration in 2019 or something. We were way below and we had to start bringing those wages up, and it's a horrible, uncomfortable situation. And as soon as you start, not giving those increases for the next, round of council or couple, it makes it difficult for them. But I think we're in an interesting situation around this table that I think if we're gonna do it, this is a year to do it. But next council's worried about it down the road. So, and I know, I think a few of us have talked to you about that, and I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there to let make a decision here, because I think we need to know that.
Just
It doesn't amount to a lot of money,
It
but
doesn't, but just further to your comment, it shows that we're trying to be fiscally responsible here. So you start rating your own. Counselor Wolf,
Thank you for you. I don't know if Deputy Burt was going to make that motion, if we make it at the end of the report, but I would second that the council remuneration remain the same as 2024.
do you want this motion made?
Or do you want it at the end of our questions?
If you're going to do the motion, I would suggest you do it now as a proper motion. It's great to have the conversation. I think it's an important conversation, but if you want the motion, I think it's a beautiful motion.
Counselor Hutchcreeve,
I would say that, yes, I think it, the constraints on the budget are overwhelming in this year because of a variety of reasons. But I think it is important to keep it in line. I think, like Deputy Mayor Burt says, if we keep not doing it, then you'll start to lag. Or put it in that it's for the next term of council, so you're not giving yourself the pay increase. Because the other thing, when you think about uptake in municipal and local government, who's gonna run? If the wages are something to actually consider as another part-time job for people who have multiple part-time jobs, council should be seen as a thing that you do when I feel council, being a councillor, sitting as a member of council should be something that people consider as something that you do make some money on. I don't think we should be ashamed that we make money we are a part of a democracy. And as you witness in a grander scheme, to not participate fully in democracy is something I obviously care about, and it is so important to value the time and the efforts of people who put their hand up, because it is very hard to put your hand up, to take the harassment. And to take very few, well done, we're really proud that you sat through that scary, overwhelming budget and had you have people's lives in your hands. So we should acknowledge that it is an important job. I agree that this year is maybe not the year to take 3%, but I think that we should not treat this job as something you do because why not? It's something that I do on the side. It should be treated, and so that the people who run in the next election, which is coming around the corner, see it as something that it's a career path to something bigger as well, to get experience. And I don't know where the passion's coming from, but I do feel in this current current situation around the globe, we have a democracy and we should support it, and we should advocate for people to be a part of it, to represent the staff, to be a board of directors, and to take direction. I think it's important that we don't just push down what this role is, not me as an individual, not you as an individual, but the role is really, really important. If we don't have it, we don't have a democracy, and we lean into something that's run by one person making the deals in the back room, and I do not feel that we should be doing that. So I feel I feel that I do support a motion to not take an increase this year, but I do feel that we should acknowledge that being a paid member of council is an important role, and that we do provide the role, not individuals, the role really matters. And I just feel that sometimes we don't acknowledge that the role is really important. And I feel strongly, obviously, about this issue. Democracy is under threat, and we should acknowledge that there is a role for people to play. I will step off once. Thank you.
I didn't run myself, just further to your comment is, to run. There was a reason that I ran. There was a reason I ran. Part of it was this process with the budgets.
Yeah.
Cause I could see the low figures of budgets going in, and I'm thinking to myself, what is gonna happen here? Everything goes up over 2% every year. And I could see that back when I ran. Insurance goes up.
Sorry, I don't mean, oh, well, I'm saying we didn't do it for, oh, well, I'm saying that's a small part of what I'm saying. We all had very important reasons, but I'm saying we need to increase even more people running. We should have 6 people running for everything. Money, we shouldn't be ashamed of saying, this is something you can do as a leapfrog to something else. This is an incredibly important thing. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, I just want us to not diminish what the role we are doing. That's all I was saying. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the role of council within a democracy. That's all I'm talking about. Nothing about an individual.
Deputy Mayor Byrd.
Thank you. When I brought this up, this
Yeah.
was not the direction I thought it would go at all. I am just thinking of budget, fiscal efficiencies, responsibilities. I think for the work we do, I think we make a decent wage. We're
Yes.
in the center of where we are in municipalities within, that have the similar population, that have water and wastewater and that sort of thing. I think anybody who enters this role does it for many different reasons. And one of them is to be fiscally responsible. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Not saying I disagree. I agree with everything you're saying. But anyway, that motion, I believe Councillor Moore wanted to put that on the floor, and she can certainly put that on the floor. And I think this is a year where 3%, which isn't a lot, but every little bit helps. It's not going to get us behind too much. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, just my perspective. I sit on the fence. I agree with everybody. I think it is a good, from our perspective, it looks good to, I know it's not a lot of money, but it's a showing of good faith that we're willing to step in and help with the process and say 3%. The other flip side was I don't want us to see us fall behind like we have in the past. And then you all of a sudden have a catch up year. Because when I sat in at Roma, one of the conference discussions I sat in on is how do you attract people to run for election? And yes, we're not here for the money, but you have to honestly make it worthwhile for people to be here. It is an important job. So I totally agree with you. And that was one of the big challenges coming out of that workshop was you have to make it worthwhile for people to do it. So I'm comfortable with 3% coming out this year. I think it shows that we're bargaining in good faith from our perspective because it is a tough year. Next year, we'll worry about next year when next year's budget comes, but just don't want it to fall too far behind because we got into that situation last term around was a big catch up, and that's hard for people to understand. And we do want to be able to, 2026 isn't far away. We do want to be able to attract people that want to come in here on the table.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one more comment. I think the 3% was actually to show leadership. Because if we're asking any of the management teams to try to find efficiencies that are really difficult in a bare bones budget, then we as councillors have to take that lead. In my opinion, and I agree that it's a difficult role and hopefully you get reward out of it when you do volunteer some of your time, even if it's not a paid role, but I think that it's important that I put forward this motion that we keep the 2025 the same as the 2024 and not accept the 3% CPI. Is that how you'd like the motion
Yes.
for this year?
That gives us what we need.
Okay, thank you. I'll put that forward
You second that, Deputy Mayor Byrd.
with a recorded vote.
Further comments? Give a further comment on all these budget proposals. They will be going back. I'll guarantee you they'll be going back. If you accept all this the way it is, councillors, you're gonna have a lot of phone calls.
Councilor Moore, yes. Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Byrd.
Yes.
Councilor Hodgkins. Yes. Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And can we get a motion to accept the report?
Can I ask just a follow-up question? or
Yes.
Something else? Is there, we're talking a lot about reserves, through you, Mayor Jordan, perhaps, is there an overall reserves balance report that?
Yep.
Like to see the trend of, I'm assuming, is there one that captures that?
Through you, Mayor, I'll present the reserves at the end of the next budget meeting. That is the plan. I can prepare a multi-year
Trend?
trend report or diagram if you'd like.
I like line graphs.
See what I can do. I can tell you that it is trending, obviously,
Yeah.
downward. I
Okay.
mentioned to a few of you, there's been significant spending and improvements in areas in the community. We'll get to some of those shortly. But your standpipe, your new medical center, your gym, your pickleball court, your all wheels park, a lot of that. The costing was grant funded, but a lot of it.
You're still paying the 25%.
And I'm new to this role, obviously. Some of you have been at the table. I don't know how many 100% grants are out there, if any, anymore, that are substantial, that aren't in the, 50,000, 100,000 or less. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about reserves at that time, and the importance of them and having flexibility to kind of apply for grants and try to move in certain directions.
Councilor Ward.
Thank you. Just one question to either Alan or Jordan on the AMP that was submitted back in July, because we were kind of behind that process. And I see that it's on here again. When will we expect any update on that?
Go ahead, Alan.
Through you, Mayor. We've been working with the consultant on that one since May, June of last year, I think. We expect the council report to come on March 25th. We've kind of given them that as our deadline that we want in. It's late to the province right now. We are not the only municipality. I updated council back in the fall about a call that had taken place with the province at that point. There are a number of municipalities that are struggling with it. We're coming to the end of our process, and then the report will be coming on March 25th. And then we will get started on the requirements that we need for 2025.
I have one follow-up with that, and that is on the health and safety audit that's being performed. And there was a group at Roma that, to increase the cost. How is that going? And is it done every year? Sorry.
Through you, Mayor, that piece is under the administrative budget. So
Oh,
we're gonna,
I'm sorry.
we're gonna get there.
I-
I'll be happy to answer that question if we
I
actually get.
skipped ahead. I apologize. There was heated debate, so.
Yes. Council, so we discussed the draft, council boards and committee budget, but we do not have a motion to accept the report for information. Moved by Councillor Hodge Greaves, second by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? It's carried. Draft administration budget. Jordan? Continue, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So this is the 2025 draft administration budget. As you can see, pretty significant increase here. The tax requirement, $102,000 from 2024 to 2025. So there's a few things driving this increase. One is the expected revenue in 2025 is lower by 51,000 than the expected revenue in 2024. The budgeted bank interest revenue in 2024 was 171,000. The interest earned was around 103,000, I believe. 103,630. So obviously a big shortfall there. $67,000 shortfall for 2024. Interest rates have come down. The bank balance for the township was much lower, especially early in 2024. Again, all of the money going out, like standpipe. So when we paid the bills for the standpipe, for example, you're paying them, you come in, you submit your claim, and there's a waiting period for you to get that funding, and some of the other projects as well. There were some funding hiccups and stuff that we have corrected. Or the process of correcting as well to get some funds in that We're kind of lucky that we're in this. But that $51,000 decrease in revenue is essentially 51,000 that's gonna need to be added, for the tax requirement in 2025. On the expense side, we have some capital costs, so there's a new website upgrade, and migration to the GovStack platform to align with regional and county efforts. You approved this at the pre-approval, budget meeting in November of 2024. The website upgrade was pre-approved by you to take advantage of a 20% discount at that time. Staff wages and payroll costs and budget adjustments, as you know, we have an increase, for the CPI cost of living. There's also some salary grid step movements and contractual wage increases and increases to some of the benefit, costing. Insurance, so in this particular administration department, you're seeing a 10% increase from the budgeted 2024 amount. The 2024 amount, and this is kind of a township-wide issue with the insurance. So the total amount budgeted in each of the departments for insurance last year was under budgeted by about 20,000. Not blaming anyone, likely due to timing, for when the budget was passed. The budget was passed in, I think, the second week of November. The insurance costing for 2024 didn't come in or isn't finalized until late in December, as you know. So you're catching up on that 20,000 this year, right off the bat. Plus the increase that we took to you previously, which I believe was a 16% increase across the board. So that's, you know, for a small municipality, just some budget catch-ups and that type of thing. They do add up over time. Unfortunately, we've seen a couple of these in this budget. Really not a lot you can do with the costs for some of these things, and you just have to eat it in time. We also have some projects in 2025, as Councilor Ward previously mentioned, so the asset management plan. So by the end of 2025, we'll have completed phase 3 of the 2025 OREG 588/17 compliant asset management plan. And not to add to the potential anxiety, but my guess from what I'm seeing from what other municipalities are receiving is the plan is going to obviously outline or provide details on your asset and your infrastructure and all of that stuff. My guess is they're going to tell you where you currently stand, what the outlook should look like, and probably a percentage of a tax increase moving forward that will need to be included in every budget if you want to sustain or grow, depending on what the path of the township is. Obviously, we will see what that looks like, and it does kind of tie back to the reserves in the end. Again, not trying to scare anyone, but just, I'm sure you're all aware of it. It's been a lengthy process. It's been an expensive process as well, and I think in the end, it should pay for itself, obviously. Let's hope. But again, it's more costs that are kind of downloaded, as you had mentioned earlier. We saw with asset retirement obligation, accounting requirements. We had consultant reports that we had to do. We have to submit those to the auditors. The auditors charge us more as well because they need to set up the new reporting requirements. And again, just more costs kind of passed down to us. Other projects for 2025 is we have a new human resources agreement with Peterborough County. And we've also taking part in a health and safety compliance agreement. The goal of that agreement is that it'll drive down our WSIB costs. Hopefully, it will pay for itself through WSIB savings. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Councilor Ward.
Thank you through you, and I apologize for jumping ahead into the report before and asking the questions. For the AMP and like what the might be for the future for budgets, would that be a levy? Is that how it would be? It would start with a levy because that would be the increase and then the budget on top? Or how would that look? And not to panic anyone, but just how would that look?
Go ahead, Al.
I don't believe, and if I get this wrong, Jordan, you let me know, I don't believe the province has given any official direction on how they're going to do it. I think it'll start with, much like the treasurer was describing, that this is what your obligation should be. How are you going to handle that? So like I said, I haven't seen or heard anything that they're going to mandate anything at this point. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Asset management is being taken much more seriously now than it ever has, and that's a good thing, but it does come with a cost, so.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just to add to that, and I may eat my words on camera one day, but I can't see it being mandated right away. My personal opinion is it would be a recommendation, obviously, and depending on what your budget looks like for that particular year, it'll be up to the councils to decide.
I didn't want to say that actually out loud to jinx us.
Yeah, obviously it is year to year and you do want to have the long-term planning, but though, I would imagine some of the municipalities are going to see very, very high percentages recommended in order to maintain their current level of service and their assets, which they just can't possibly put on the residents.
Thank you.
Deputy Member.
Yeah, I have a couple of things, but just to follow up what Councillor Rohr said, with certainly at the county for the last several years, we've had a dedicated infrastructure levy that goes into the overall levy of 2.5%. It's always I wouldn't say contentious issue, but we always talk about it, but man, oh man, it's a good thing we've had it in there because otherwise we'd be in a lot of trouble, and that doesn't cover it, but it helps a lot. So just to follow up on that, I guess the insurance, it's kind of, it feels like it's fallen on the back burner a little bit, I think, because of healthcare and like all these other issues. But I was actually, Councillor Warren, I stopped and spoke to our Roma Zone 5 rep after our conversation and kind of brought forward, hey, we've had pretty much 100% increase in our insurance over 4 or 5 years. And she was surprised to hear that, which I found that surprising because I know the county's kind of been at the same point. So I'm wondering if we don't need to, get in touch with our rep to bring that forward to them and get it more into the limelight. It was a number of years ago. Like I say, it's kind of fallen off the scale. And then obviously, I think there's only 2 companies that look after municipal insurance now. I'm not sure.
So pretty much, I don't know if it's actually 2, but in the insurance field, it's not a particular municipal insurance, it's not a particularly attractive one. Any advocacy work you could do with Roma, with AMO would be a positive step in my opinion. I can tell you yesterday at the local CEOs meeting for Peterborough County, that what this topic was on the agenda. We did have some discussion. We are looking at possibly trying to do a pool where we all go out together, build on some of those efficiencies, as Councilor Walsh previously talked about. Whether it'll make a difference or not, it pressure from every area will be good to the insurance companies are just kind of going right along and the rate goes up and everybody just keeps paying because there's not a lot of choice. We have to have the insurance. But it is an area that is just like asset management. It is one that continues to grow, and anything that we could do, even just let them know that we are paying more attention to it, I don't think would be a bad thing.
So what I'll do is next regular meeting, we can bring a resolution forward to get a letter to Roma. And then the next thing I had Roma set in on a delegation with the county to on the Honorable King Surma. And again, it was on the asset management plan and how difficult it is, especially for small municipalities, because all of that work has to be outsourced. As soon as you put a consultant in there, I don't think you can get one for under $50,000. So kind of put it out there that it needs to be on a level playing field, have a platform that the townships can plug in the numbers and just try to make the whole process simpler. Because even just doing the plans, it's out of reach for a lot of people. So we did do a delegation. She received it well, but again, who knows, but it is on the way,
And there's only so many consultant companies.
Yeah,
for that one.
yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
For you, Mayor, I was just about to say, building on that, yeah. the consultants who are good have been, part of the reason ours isn't done yet is because we went with a good consultant that we knew we could do the work, but we had to get in line with everybody else.
Yeah.
And having been on the call with the province back in the fall, there were some municipalities where some of the staff were practically in tears as they were having the conversation with the province to say, okay, we understand why you want this. We just, and these are some of the smaller municipalities. There was one particular municipality, I think, had 3 admin staff. And now this is another piece of work that they're supposed to do. It is not easier for anybody. And I believe it is important, but some more support from the province would be very nice.
Councillor Hodge-Grace.
Just looking around the health and safety. And so there was a committee budget of $1,000 last year and only $29 was spent. And then now we have, $25,000 required in, I know that's part of HR, human resources with the county, but can you just expand on the health and safety stuff, please?
So through you, $1,000 that was budgeted, which was the health and safety committee that we have internally, which we are required to have by the province. One of the things we did in December is we had the outside guys come in and they did an audit of where we were with our health and safety. The report that came back was not a huge surprise to me, but we are not in as good a place as I believe we need to be. So that's when we started having the conversation with them to say, what do we, from where we are today, how do we get to that better place? That's one of the things that we're working on now, where they're working with us. As the treasurer mentioned, if we can get to the place we need, then we put a report into the WSIB. We get a rate reduction on that, which we're hoping, the plan is that will pay for the work that we've done. We had to put the money out first, but hopefully we get that, plan is to get that money back when we get that. That's gonna take us probably about 6 to 8 months to do, so that will go in later this year, and then we'll see how successful we are. And we'll report back to council on that. But really, it's an area that, and we are not that different from a lot of other organizations this side, where everybody knows and health and safety is important. But everybody has a lot of work to do, and it's easy for it to sit on somebody's desk and all of a sudden it's been sitting there, and nobody's touched it for 6, 8 months or whatever. So we are in the process of making it a higher priority, which hopefully will help us in several ways in the long run.
Thank you.
Any further? Darren or Councillor Walsh?
It's for you, Mayor, and maybe instructed to Paula or to the Historical Society, the 16-3 Pyram's and celebration funding. A big portion of that was a grant, correct? Roughly.
It was $9,800 for the grant, and then they always like to see that whatever organization also has like a little seed fund to do it as well. And I can tell you that we will be very prudent with the money that is in our budget. And I've already reached out to Alan and Jordan, and that any anything that we can save will go back, and that we hope to keep it at 3,000, same as every other committee, but we needed that to secure the grant.
No, that's fine. I just want for the public to know that we're not investing 16,000. A big chunk of that was not
We were
free
very-
money, but it was
very
grant.
fortunate that the grant from Peter
Yeah,
Robinson, Bison.
Any further questions? Councillors, Councillor Hodge-Grace.
Just through you, Mayor Paula, actually, or Councillor Ward, in terms of, it's not here, but is it in the digitization project? Is that, does that fall under?
That would be in a reserve. You have to ask Jordan where that money is. He did break it down in our budget. I think I included it in my council liaison report a couple of times ago, what the amount was. But we have reached out, and Melanie has been gracious enough to help me. We have reached out to a couple of companies that are coming back with quotes.
Okay.
So hopefully that will be done this year.
Okay, thank you.
There is no impact on the tax levy for that.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yeah. All right.
Any further questions? All right, council, I get a motion to accept this report. Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Burke, all in favor, motion's carried. R9, 2025 draft economic development budget, CAO, Alan. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Through you. Economic development in Hilo County went through a rather big change the change started in 2024, and we're gonna see that change come through into 2025. So at the end of 24, PCAD, which was the partnership between the county and the city, was dissolved. So halfway through last year, the city had decided they didn't want to continue it any further. So the county took a step back and said, okay, what does this mean? We're not gonna be able to support PCAD on its own. And they basically, both the city and the county, brought economic development in-house. I sat on the transition board while that work was being done. And a number of times during 2024, I think I brought to council what was going on with economic development, and I made it really good. It's an important one to me, and it's one that I think we get a lot of value of. I think the last half of 2024, we did very well with some of the stuff that we were doing and some of the connections that we're making. We're not exactly sure how it happened, but we've almost sort of become the poster boy with the county, or poster people with the county, for some of their early pieces, which is a positive piece. So we are looking to make it a priority in 2025. Now, in saying that, we have actually, the way the economic development budget is set up for 2025, we are coming in $546 less than we did last year. So the pieces that we're actually looking at for this year is that with PCAD dissolving, the recommendation we're making is that now that it's 100% to the county and the local municipality to fulfill these new duties and responsibilities and collaborate with our county partners and maintain the commitments, staff are recommending that right now the position we have that does the work here is 28 hours a week, recommending moving it up to 35. The other recommendation that we're making is that within the budget, you will notice that the promotion expenses had been approximately $40,000 before. We're looking at bringing that down to 10. But what we're seeing is that with a lot of the social networking that's available now, we don't do nearly as much hard copy as we did. So by bringing that 10,000, bringing that down to $10,000, that has kind of freed up some of the money so that we're not seeing an increase, even though we're looking for the more. So those are some of the big changes for 25 that we're proposing. And then the community, well, I'm gonna get it wrong here in
Okay.
council. So
It's a
that's
skill
not good.
testing question.
Hang on, where's my sheet here? Yes. The community engagement and economic development coordinator role is now going to present some of the events and economic pieces that we're looking at for 2025.
So through you, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. I don't think any of these are a surprise to any of you. They're all ongoing events or programs that we already offer in the community. So we just want to continue to work to augment those and support our businesses. You'll see that we are working hand in hand with the county to bring the local advantage to the municipality on a monthly basis so that our businesses are being supported. And our first one was a huge success in our opinion, in that the county actually only expected maybe we'd have 1 or 2 businesses and we had 12 businesses. So I think there was a huge impact on our businesses just from that. And we look forward to bringing many different topics and conversations to the table. You will also see that we have listed in here the Community Safety Day. Well, that one is dependent on whether we're successful with the Golden Helmets Precision Team, OPP Precision Team, and bringing that to the community. To be able to have that option as well as some other community safety. We can do that very cost effectively, but have a nice big event for our community. And of course, all of the other ones are things that allow for pride of place, and they allow for people to come and explore our community. And we are working with that on an ongoing basis.
Are there any questions? You have? Lawrence?
Councilors, Deputy Mayor Burke.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you for the report, both of you. Yeah, I am excited to see the change from PCAD to the way it is now in the county. I've certainly seen it in the last 4 to 6 months, especially. focus that has been on the townships, not just ours. More so than it was with PCAT. I think at that time, the focus was on more of the city. And I get that, the population is bigger, so I do like the way that whole process has moved forward and I think we're, not the only township that appreciates it. I guess I do, and certainly no disrespect to any staff doing a great job. I do struggle a little bit with the recent change with economic development in the county and us jumping in, for a full-time position, and we've discussed this, I've been very, very open with that at this time. I get where you're coming from. Again, in my opinion, right now for 2025, that's a want and not so much a need, even though I'm sure in other people's opinions, it is a need, and I get that. And it's just, it's a bit of a struggle for me to get over that leap. But and I know it's important, and I know it's important for our businesses. So it is a struggle for me to make that leap. So I'll just leave it there.
Councilor Ward.
Thank you, through the mayor. Thank you for the reports. I am of the same mindset in a way with, Deputy Mayor Burt, in that I would really like to step back a little bit and see what the county is going to, like, they haven't even really been underway for a month and a bit. So I would really like to, see what the county's going to do before we, jump in to see how we're going to complement that or, get more engagement. And I do see that, yes, the budget is less, but that doesn't include, like, we didn't do showcase. So we're taking a break from showcase, which would have also impacted this as well, right? If we had added that back in. Am I correct in that?
So through you, Mayor, showcase with the revenue brings in versus cost, it's pretty much a wash.
Okay, so it's almost a neutral. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, no, I was just looking at the budget, the actual, that you have here for the numbers. So I wasn't sure of the revenue that came in. But for me, I think this year it's a cautious approach. And, that's all I'm gonna say right now.
Any further comments? Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Sitting on the fence on this one too, because,
They're newly formed, and this is no disrespect to what you've been able to do with the group so far, but they are early in. Love to kind of know what more they can do, because PK has done nothing for us. So hopefully the county approach will be more granular to us from a county perspective, do things. I'm just not sure whether we want to go jump into it full time. I guess my other questions are, and I should ask these in advance, but I'm looking at the GL. So Canada Day revenue, $2,500. Is that a grant that we get usually? Okay, thank you. Other revenue, we're going from $15,000 to $450. Sorry, I should have said this earlier to you, sorry. Yes.
through you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So the 15,000 you're seeing in 2024 actuals is actually grant funding received in 2024 for the new, I think it's the New Horizons Senior Grant. Title of this.
And then one more follow-up. Go ahead. Promotion expenses, I get that we're dropping from a budget, actual was 10, but then we're going up to 25. Proposed for 25,000 for 2025. What's driving that? I'm sorry, I should have done this earlier. But down the expenses line, promotion expenses were 10.3 actual in 2024, way down from budget, which is awesome, but they're taking it up to 25,000.
So that's one of those ones where we took a look at what we did in 24, we took a look at what was budgeted, what we actually did. And then again, we know there's a lot of changes going on in economic development in both the county and municipality right now. So that was what we felt was a reasonable amount. We expect to be doing more than we did last year. So last year it was 47, only 10 was spent, but that's where we came up with the 25 for this year. Okay. And just sort of to feel, I can appreciate everything that the committee members are saying. about, we want to see how the county is going to do things. I don't think that's a wrong approach. The concern I would have there is that right now we have one person and we're getting a lot of value from that role. My concern is that they're gonna come and they're gonna ask for something else or some other things that we can do to complement what they're doing, and we're not gonna have the ability to do that. So that's part of our thinking when we had, why we wanted to increase the role. We expect more from them, but we've got to be able to contribute to that more as well.
Would you not do that at the time though?
Sorry, sir.
If the county comes to you and asks you for more support?
Well, in that particular, if they ask us for more right now, then we'd have to reallocate with what we have. We're, the capacity we have right now for the person in the role, they're doing everything that they can. I can't ask them to do more with only doing 4 days a week. If we did the 5th, then yes, we have that built in and we can go looking for stuff there. There's lots of work that we could be doing that we aren't doing right now that would build on that. But if the county goes back right now and says to us, okay, we want to do this new initiative, whatever it might be, then we would have to take a step back and say, okay, if we do that, what does it mean we're not doing what we're doing?
Deputy Member,
Just to follow up on that, and I know that, that group, they're, you know, they've kind of laid out and put it to county council as the direction they want to go. They haven't come back with a fulsome plan yet. I forget the timeline on that. So I think I don't think that we'll see that plan by the end of the first quarter. If we do, it'll be close. Yeah, so I think until, you know, that gets hammered down at the county, it almost feels like we're putting, as the saying goes, the cart before the horse in this case, but, anyhow. Thank you.
any further questions? Full council, may I get a motion to accept this report, just for information? Councilor Wolf, Councilor Hodge Greaves, all in favor, motion's carried. Next is R10. R10 is our final staff report for today, the 2025 draft new medical center budget. Alan, please continue.
Through you, Mayor, yeah, I saved the most fun one for the end. So we opened the new medical center in March of last year. We spent significantly more money than had been budgeted in the 24 budget. I think a lot of that, and not looking to throw anybody under, but the treasurer and myself were not here for that. It was what was carried forward, what was given to us, and we did the best we could to work with it. As we move through 2024, the council was advised on a couple of different occasions about some of the spending that was happened there and happening at the clinic and just what it meant. When we look at what it's going to cost us for the 2025 budget year, we're looking at approximately 172,976 increase from what was budgeted last year. Part of that is now that we've actually been running it and we've seen what it's like to run, we have a reasonable expectation on what it's going to cost us. The number last year had been a more accurate number than we would see this number. I struggle with this one, as I know all of you do, in that I take great pride in the impact that the medical center has had on the community and the work that we've been doing with it. We have said to the province, we are an example on how they should be looking to other communities to do this, and I believe we are. But I also know that the price tag is significant and is a challenge. So I'm not really sure what to say after that, other than if you have any questions, then I'm happy to answer them as best I can.
Councilors? Nobody want to start the ball off?
Start.
Deputy Member,
Yeah, and I think you said it very accurately, that we had some surprises last year. Everybody around this table, not the two new guys coming in, but I think everybody around the table had surprises once things got going. Does kind of take the wind out of your sails a little bit, but here we are. And so I did put my questions out to Alan and he did get back to me. But just as we've kind of been going through this whole process this morning, I think another thing that we really need to look at is that idea of, finding the most efficient costing. And I'm just thinking of supplies, like we shouldn't be just buying ourselves, like there's a lot of other medical centers in the community. And certainly if it comes to equipment, which I didn't know we had to purchase, certainly just doing stuff like that. I think at our last meeting, we talked about getting, inviting the president of OMA, down and getting the press, and I think we still need to push on that. I think this has to be an example within the province, and I think we have to push it, and we can't let off in the accelerator to get that province on board, because this is 100% downloading,
Alan,
100%.
it is.
So-
Alan?
We did get an email back from the OMA president this week. He is very interested in coming out and seeing it, and we're just waiting to hear back from him on some dates, and then we'll be sharing that.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you.
Question, Councilor Wood?
Yes, and I was just, you look at something that it's new to us as a municipality on this size. I was just wondering if there has been any, feedback from staff in the positions over there of any cost savings or any thoughts that way.
So, through you, Mayor, the physicians that are over there, I meet with them on a monthly basis. At our meeting earlier this week, I did share the budget presentation that was coming to this council, so they are aware of the costing. It's not a secret, it's a public document. They're aware of that. I think because it's still fairly new, the one doctor just came on officially as of December. It's still, and we're not even a year in over there. There's still a lot of lessons that we're learning. There's still a lot of pieces that are going on. I think that they appreciate the impact on the municipality was greater than was expected. But I don't know, other than that appreciation, I don't know that there's more of that, anything else there at this point.
Now, you did mention the foot care revenue.
So through you there, we have been working with one of the nurses over there. She actually just sent in her plan this week. We had a couple of different conversations. I know you've had a couple of conversations as well there. And what I had said was, it's a great idea. I need a business plan. What's it gonna cost us? What might it make us? Everything like that. I got that this week. I sent an email back actually this morning before I came into this meeting with a couple more questions to round it up. I think we're gonna probably have something in place before the end of the first quarter. It's going to make some revenue, which isn't currently in the budget, but I don't. It does, it's not going to solve our problem.
No, definitely not, but every little carrot helps.
Every little bit helps. What I could do now that we have a little bit more information, because it did come in after this, is that when we bring the final budget back, we can probably work an estimate on whether that's going to be 5 or 10,000, whatever it might be, into the budget.
Just because we're on the medical center, of the Asphodel-Norwood residents that were on our list, have they all been called yet?
They should all have a call in the next 2 weeks. I think we're about the last between 150 and 200 calls. So these are the people who do not have doctors. And there's still a list of Asphodel-Norwood residents who do have doctors,
But want to switch?
but want to switch, and that will be the next group that we're working on. From December, when we started making the calls, I want to say it's between 700 and 800 calls that have been made. So now, not every call equals one person, some of them are for families and different things like that. And completely off the top of my head here, I want to say it's been right around 500 people of the calls that have been made so far have actually come into the medical center and have been rostered with the new doctor who started in December. So we're still, later this month, we're gonna take a step back and kind of say, where are we with him? How many have come in? What do we need to do from there? Do we start on the people, the Asphodel-Norwood residents who have dogs? Do we do a different, what do we do? So that'll be something that we do later this month, but a lot of work since December, first part of December, when we started this. A lot of phone calls have been made, a lot of people have been rostered.
And we did have revenue come in from Hiawatha, which will be forthcoming.
We received a donation from them back in September, and that is accounted for within this budget.
And we also have discussions with Havelock Belmont too, still.
We have ongoing discussions with them based on the last email I got from their CEO. I expect that we will probably formalize something with them in the next 2 to 3 weeks, preferably by the end of this month. We have a draft number that is in the current budget for it. We'll be able to put a specific number in once we finalize those discussions.
Okay. Also, Deputy Member,
Just one more question. I just wanted to make sure this is right. So for the nurse practitioner, we are still only paying that third day because they came back and they wanted to switch that out.
So through you, Mayor, yes, there was talk earlier, or middle part of last year from the FO on what they wanted to do. We did have some back and forth with them. I will say in this particular case, when I talked to the doctors about it at the monthly meeting, they got on board and advocated very strongly for us. The model is currently the same model. We landed where we had been.
Thank you.
Councillor Hodgkins.
Through you, Mayor, to probably Jordan, the unfunded capital, because my brain knows what it is, but this is money that was spent out of reserves and now we're allocating it going forward. Is that correct?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, so this was a little bit of a puzzle when I started.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get to a costing report in the first quarter or second quarter of 2024. So essentially, my understanding from the report that was passed by council for the medical center originally was that the bid up costs, is that what they were?
Bid up.
Yeah, bid up costs and medical equipment was supposed to come out of the general work. Well, because we didn't see the revenue that we had anticipated for multiple years, the reserve balances were quite low. So if we were to take, there's $375,292 in capital tied to the medical center in 2024. We were to use the general working funds current reserve to pay that amount. It's very close to being. So the recommendation is, and again, everything you saw today is draft. If you don't like it, I'm happy to work with you. The recommendation is a 20-year payback at that amount. Unfortunately, you can't recoup the money quickly. Takes a long time to get it all back, but that number you see there, the 18,765, essentially would hit this department for 20 years. Similar to waste department.
Okay.
And I do know that's what our past CAO said, was to take it out of the working funds.
It's through you, Mayor, that's what the reports had said,
Yeah.
and if it's somewhere else we can take it from, especially.
The Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, through Mayor, I guess, lots of learnings this year. For you and us, still very proud of our medical center, and what we're able to offer to our community. I think just really the couple of questions I had is gonna be spoke earlier around cost savings, so supplies. When it comes to them, the staff of there needing medical equipment, who kind of ultimately decides between what is a nice to have versus what is a need to have over there?
So through Mayor, like I said, I meet with the doctors over there on a regular basis. The majority of the money that was spent in 2024, because we had nothing, there was limited pieces that moved over from the old clinic. It was a lot of use. There really wasn't anything that I could tell. It was nice that we got that. We got it because we needed it. There is not a lot of nice to haves if they're doing a procedure and that's a piece of equipment they need to do the procedure over there, then that's what we're getting them to do so that they can operate as a functional medical. I would not describe anything that they purchase or that we plan on purchasing as a nice to have.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, council, may I get a motion to accept this report? Councillor Hodge agrees, Deputy Mayor Quirk, all in favor? It's carried. Moving along to bylaws.
That's the third. Now.
And through you. That the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held February 7, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time in number 2025-11.
Deputy Mayor Byrd, Councillor Walsh, all in favor? Motion's carried.
Yeah, sorry.
Did
I miss some bylaw?
No, forgive me, my
Okay.
mistake,
No.
thank you.
Now I'm voting in favor.
Council, that concludes our business today. May I get a motion to adjourn from the special meeting, and it's 12 p.m. Councillor Ward, Councillor Hodge Greaves, all in favor? Motion's carried.